A boot slams down hard onto the dusty ground as someone runs desperately. The young man is breathing heavily, with sweat dripping down his neck from the intense chase. He grits his teeth, forcing himself to keep moving despite the overwhelming fear. The youth knows he absolutely cannot let his pursuers catch up to him. He sprints through a street littered with bodies, his mind racing with panic. The horrifying consequences of what would happen otherwise flash through his mind. He recalls the image of strange, deadly tendrils lashing out from the darkness. The runner knows that if he gets caught, his head will be blown off in an instant. Panic fills his eyes as the grim reality pushes him to his absolute limit. He urges himself to run faster, pushing his legs to move even faster down the street. Finally reaching his destination, his hands slam against a large wooden door. His only goal is to get inside the temple, believing he will be safe there. Just as he thinks of safety, a brilliant light erupts from behind him. The powerful blast sends the young man flying backward through the air. He crashes hard against a wall, slumping to the ground while gasping for breath. Shaken, he slowly tries to push himself up, his body trembling from the impact. He sits back in shock, the horrifying realization dawning on him that this is real. Everything is happening exactly as it did in the simulation he experienced. He remembers a time when no one could imagine the peaceful world changing, but overnight, it transformed into a hellish purgatory as anomalies awakened. This young man, Su Wu, is determined to survive in this dangerous new world. He quickly gets up and rushes inside the temple, heading toward a single lit candle. The youth stops and looks down, his expression serious as he finds what he was looking for. A faint smile of relief appears on his face, seeing his plan is still on track. He opens a wooden chest, revealing that all the supplies he prepared are safe inside. Believing the fire will protect him, he checks the time on his watch. It reads 10:26. Su Wu watches the clock closely, knowing there is only 1 minute left to wait. The hand on his watch continues its steady tick, marking the last moments. Suddenly, a loud bang comes from the temple door, as if something is trying to get in. His expression hardens as he realizes that the time is finally up. He throws the large doors open, revealing countless red lanterns floating outside. The street is filled with the glowing objects, all swarming toward the temple entrance. Unafraid, the young man reaches out and calmly takes one of the lanterns in his hand. The lantern he holds begins to glow with an intense, brilliant light. In that instant, all the other lanterns surrounding the temple shatter into pieces. Su Wu stands calmly among the floating red fragments, still holding his lit candle. He then walks over to a car parked nearby and finds a body slumped in the open door. The youth gets behind the wheel, telling the deceased man that he has to borrow his car. He then speeds down the dark street, navigating through the remaining red lanterns. While driving, Su Wu checks his watch again, which now shows the time is 10:54. He knows that the person he is looking for is about to arrive at her location, and just as he predicted, a young woman stands alone on the street, holding a rooster. A wide, confident smile spreads across his face as he exclaims that he has found her. He floors the gas pedal, skidding the car to a halt right in front of the girl. Leaning out the window, he urgently tells her to get in the car with him immediately. The young woman, Zhang Yingying, asks nervously who he is and where he plans to take her. He tells her there is no time for explanations, warning her to get in if she wants to live. Looking at the terrifying red lanterns, she knows she doesn't want to die, but she also remembers the hordes of other monsters lurking in the shadows. The world is now filled with countless horrifying anomalies that make survival seem bleak. As they pull up to a building, she quietly wonders if they can really survive. Su Wu gets out of the car and firmly takes her hand, ready to lead her to safety. He confidently tells her that of course they will, pulling her along. Zhang Yinjing looks at him, her expression filled with doubt and fear. The young man turns back with a determined look, promising they will definitely survive. He leads her through the darkness, their hands clasped tightly as they run. His watch continues to glow faintly as they make their way forward together. Suddenly, the watch on his wrist begins to shine with a brilliant, blinding light. A message appears in front of him, welcoming him to the perfect life simulator. The story flashes back to 1 month ago, to a time before the world had changed. Su-woo was at home, carefully repairing an old watch when he pricked his finger. He recalls that this was the very first time he entered the simulation. It all began when a single drop of his blood dripped onto the watch his grandfather left him. The device immediately began to hum and glow with a strange, otherworldly energy. A bright light suddenly enveloped him, leaving him stunned and confused by the event. He found himself standing before a giant clock face, with a message welcoming him to the simulator. Returning to reality, he looked at the watch and wondered what this system actually did. The digital interface of the watch flashed to life in front of his eyes. A message explained he could simulate his future life by consuming something called Yuan Jade. He wondered what Yuan Jade was, and where he could possibly get it from. The system then clarified that Yuan Jade is a reward, and he currently has a balance of 5. The young man was puzzled, questioning how he could have any if this was his first time. He then remembered the watch was a family heirloom and wonders if his father had used it. This realization makes him suspect a link between the watch and his parents' mysterious deaths. Determined, he decides he must uncover the truth behind the simulator. The system offers a first-time bonus, a permanent talent for the cost of 1 Yuan Jade. Believing a reward for a first-time user is worth it, he immediately accepts the offer. A loading screen appears as the system begins the process of drawing his new talent. The draw is successful, and a green light grants him the permanent talent of composure. With his new talent, Su-woo feels a sudden clarity, his thoughts becoming more organized. He wonders if the talent can affect his real body, as the system presents a new option. It offers to let him bring real-world items into the simulation for 1 Yuan Jade each. The options include tissues, a knife, a sword, folding stools, and even a tea set. He could also bring in his bed, 2 cookies, or a variety of other items from his room. A flashlight, rope, computer, lighter, and even a cup of cola are also on the list. Realizing these are all things he already owns, he decides not to waste his Yuan Jade. The clock hands on the watch begin to spin rapidly as the simulation prepares to launch. A message appears, confirming that his future life has been successfully loaded. Before he can react, he is pulled into the simulation, shouting that he still has questions. He wonders why he should simulate his life, and if the events will actually happen. He finds himself back in his room, but something is very wrong. His eyes widen in shock as he takes in the dilapidated state of his surroundings. The windows are boarded up, and he questions why his future room would be sealed shut. He also notices that the walls and bookshelves are covered in spreading patches of mold. The young man sits at his desk, picking up a calendar to check the date. He sees that it is April 15th, 2030, 5 days after the date he entered the simulation. He notes that this means the simulation has jumped at least a week into the future. He then begins to read through journal entries he finds on his desk. The entries detail his recent past, mentioning strange weather and unsolved murder cases nearby. He finds it hard to believe there were murders in his district, which had always been safe. The next journal entry from April 18th sends a chill down his spine. The couple upstairs died. His expression darkens as he processes the grim news from his own journal. The entry details their horrible deaths and mentions that all the other tenants are moving out. An ominous feeling grows as he reads, noticing how his own handwriting became messy from fear. He continues reading, trying to understand what happened, or if there was another reason for his fear. A question written in the journal asks if the killer was even human after so many deaths. The youth is deeply disturbed, wondering what kind of monster could be the cause. As he sits alone in the dark and silent room, the atmosphere grows heavy with tension. He suddenly feels a strange presence, as if someone is standing right behind him. Alarmed, he quickly turns his head to see what is there. His eyes widen in pure terror as he spots something unspeakably horrifying in the shadows. Before he can even process the sight, a powerful force strikes him. He looks up in a daze, a trail of blood starting to drip from his lips. The single drop of blood runs down his chin as the fatal injury takes its toll. He struggles to breathe as his hands begin to transform into monstrous black claws. His eyes roll back into his head, life slowly draining from his body. Completely overwhelmed, his body goes limp and collapses backward into the darkness. A blue screen then appears, informing him that the simulation has officially ended. The final message is blunt and clear, showing his wounded body and stating that he died. Su-woo gasps for air, back in his room in the real world, shaken by the experience. He stands there, trying to catch his breath after the intense and terrifying simulation. A sudden sound alerts him to a new message from the system. His performance is rated as having no evaluation, and he receives no rewards. The sensation of death felt so real that he clutches his chest, trembling in fear. He grips his hoodie tightly, questioning if he is truly still alive after such an ordeal. He realizes that the horrifying hand he saw must belong to the killer from the future diary. Seeing his own handwriting from the journal confirms that the killer is not human. Back at his desk in the present, the horrifying future weighs heavily on his mind. He checks his calendar and confirms that today is April 9th, a day before the first journal entry. The young man closes his eyes, trying to focus and come up with a plan to face the monster. His composure talent activates, allowing him to calmly analyze the situation. He remembers the journal entry about the faint smell of a dead rat. He puts the pieces together, recalling how the scent became stronger as the danger neared. This smell is a clear sign of the creature's presence, and it intensifies with its killing intent. He tries to figure out where the monster could have come from, reviewing his memories. He wonders if it came from underground, and if that is connected to the sealed windows. Frustrated by the lack of information, he clicks his tongue in annoyance. With too few clues, he knows there is no way for him to figure out the answer right now. Determined to find a solution, he decides to start the next simulation. The system shows that his yuan jade balance is now 3, as each simulation costs 1. Once again, he declines the offer to bring any real, world items into the simulation. The system begins loading his talents and preparing for the next simulation to start. A message appears, confirming that his future life has been successfully loaded. He finds himself back in the dilapidated room from his previous simulation. This time, he immediately goes to the light switch and flips it on, illuminating the room. He looks at the calendar and confirms that it is April 16th, the day before his death. The youth carefully checks the calendar again, noting all the days that have been crossed off. He debates whether he should pry open the floorboards to search for clues. Just as he is about to decide, he catches a faint but familiar scent in the air. He immediately recognizes the smell of a dead rat and knows that the creature is coming. Su-woo looks at the boarded-up windows, realizing there is nothing to see outside. He glances around the room, frantically searching for any sign of the approaching monster. He freezes, thinking for a moment that his eyes are playing tricks on him, but a glance down at the floor reveals a dark, shadowy substance spreading from beneath him. Before he can react, the shadowy tendrils shoot up from the floorboards. The black substance quickly wraps around his body, trapping him in its grip. He cries out in pain as the tendrils tighten, constricting his body and squeezing him. The strange substance begins to ooze from the boarded up windows as well. As the life drains from him, he looks up at the monster, trying to identify it. In his final moments, he realizes that the creature is a shadow monster. He connects the dots, realizing the dark room and boarded windows were meant to keep it out. The monster is a shadow that can only appear when cast by a light source. With a bloodied grin, he realizes he finally understands the creature's nature. Just then, a notification appears from the system. He has unlocked a new temporary talent called Pain Transfer, which lets him endure more pain. A surge of agony courses through him as the shadow creature consumes him completely. He lets out a final, agonizing scream as his vision fades to white. The simulation ends abruptly, just as it did the first time. Once again, the system delivers the grim news that he has died. Su-woo returns to his real body, breathing heavily as he recovers from the shock. He clenches his jaw, the terrifying experience still fresh in his mind. This time, the system gives him a D- rating and rewards him with 1 yuan jade. He is then given the option to bring items out of the simulation by spending yuan jade. The young man is pleased that he finally earned a rating and a reward for his efforts. He then notices a new icon on the system interface, wondering what it is. The icon is for his new pain transfer talent, which can become permanent for 50 yuan jade. He realizes that temporary talents can be brought into reality to become his own, but he quickly remembers that he only has 3 yuan jade and cannot afford it. Feeling exhausted, he decides to exit the simulator, confident he now has enough information. Looking at his own shadow, Su Wu feels a spark of inspiration. A confident smile spreads across his face as he realizes he has thought of a solution. 8 hours later, he is ready and enters the simulation to test his new plan. The system loads his future life, and he prepares to face the shadow monster once again. He finds himself back in the familiar dilapidated room, his hands resting on the desk. Calmly, he stands up and begins to explore the room, searching for something specific. He believes that if the simulation reflects reality, any changes he makes should appear here. With that in mind, he reaches under his desk to check for the items he prepared. A triumphant look crosses his face, confirming that his plan is working as expected. He reaches into a bag he hid earlier and pulls out its contents. Just as he thought, the items are exactly where he left them. He pulls out a smartphone from the bag, one of the key components of his plan. The phone is placed inside a drawer, ready to be used at the right moment. He then takes out several other smartphones and a bag of other supplies. He strategically places the devices all around the room, preparing for the monster's arrival. His heart pounds in his chest as he puts the final phone in place. One of the phones lights up, showing the time is 8:08 p.m. on April 17th. As soon as the phone's screen illuminates, the shadow creature begins to manifest. The familiar, menacing shadows start to stretch across the floor from under the door. He clenches his teeth, prepared to face the creature when it appears again. The shadow monster lunges forward, its dark form ready to consume him. He leaps out of the way just in time, narrowly dodging the creature's attack. He presses himself against the wall, trying to stay out of the monster's reach. He dashes out of the room, using the darkness of the hallway to his advantage. The youth quickly hides behind a cabinet, catching his breath as he waits. Putting his plan into action, he equips a pair of advanced night vision goggles. A confident smile appears on his face as he activates the goggles, ready for the next step. The room is now clearly visible to him, bathed in the green light of the night vision. Back in reality, he recalls the research he did to prepare for this moment. He had spent hours online, searching for and ordering the necessary equipment. A smug smile appears on his face, proud of his clever and well-thought-out plan. Back in the simulation, he stands confidently, his new gear giving him a major advantage. He turns on the night vision, the world around him now bathed in an eerie green glow. He stands in the dark room, his night vision goggles allowing him to see everything clearly. A wide grin spreads across his face as he realizes his plan has worked perfectly. Knowing the monster has taken over the building, he knows his only chance is to escape. He reaches for the handle of the apartment door, ready to make a run for it. The young man steels his resolve, determined to survive this time no matter what. He pulls the heavy door open, his mind focused solely on getting out of the building. He steps out into the dark hallway, his night vision goggles lighting the way. Just as he steps into the hallway, a motion-activated light suddenly turns on. He freezes in shock, realizing his mistake as the bright light floods the corridor. The shadow monster immediately materializes, its dark tendrils lashing out toward him. He grits his teeth in frustration, knowing he only has seconds to act. He pulls out a remote control he had prepared, his thumb hovering over the button. With a determined press, he activates the remote, hoping it will be enough. The hallway light immediately shuts off, plunging the area back into darkness. The shadow monster, now deprived of its light source, begins to dissipate. Breathing a sigh of relief, Su Wu clutches the remote, his heart pounding in his chest. He leans against the wall, relieved that he managed to make it out of that situation alive. The story flashes back to 5 hours earlier, showing his conversation with the landlord. The landlord thanks him for paying to fix the hallway lights, impressed by his generosity. The youth had explained that broken sound, activated lights were a hassle. He then cleverly asked for a remote control for the lights, which the landlord provided. The landlord was happy to sell him the remotes, and Su Wu paid him on the spot. Back in the simulation, he notes that the dead rat smell is still present. He knows he must restore darkness before the scent intensifies and the monster returns. His goal is to get out of the building before the next wave of the creature's attacks. He continues down the dark staircase, moving as quickly and quietly as he can. His eyes widen in terror at the sound of a noise. As he continues down the stairs, another motion-activated light suddenly turns on. He quickly uses the remote to shut it off, plunging the hallway back into darkness. Just as he turns off the light, he hears a door open behind him. A woman emerges from her apartment, wondering why the lights are not working. She holds a flashlight, and its beam cuts through the darkness, illuminating the hallway. His eyes widen in panic as he realizes the danger the woman has just created. The flashlight's bright beam casts a long, menacing shadow behind her. The youth shouts in warning, but it is too late. The shadow monster has already appeared. The woman stands confused as a terrifying, grinning creature materializes in her shadow. Realizing the immediate danger, he grits his teeth and prepares to run for his life. He glances back for a second, a bead of sweat dripping down his face. He notices something is wrong. The smell of dead rats is much fainter than before. A chilling realization dawns on him as he looks at the woman and her shadow. The shadow monster lunges forward, its dark tendrils wrapping around the woman's body. She lets out a desperate cry for help as the creature begins to consume her. The monster attacks with brutal force, its sharp tendrils tearing through the apartment door. A single, dark tendril grazes Su Wu's cheek, leaving a small cut. He touches the wound, feeling a drop of blood mixed with the black substance of the monster. He watches in horror as the woman is caught by it. The hallway is now littered with her remains. The woman's flashlight lies on the floor, its beam still casting a long shadow. The shadow monster stands tall, its menacing form outlined by a faint red glow. Su Wu watches the creature, a bead of sweat dripping down his face as he analyzes the situation. The monster begins to contort and twist, its shadowy form changing shape. It then slithers away, disappearing back into the darkness from which it came. He is shocked that the creature left without attacking him, despite the flashlight still being on. He wonders if the monster can only kill the person closest to the shadow each time. Realizing he has a chance to escape, he quickly makes a run for it. A notification from the system appears, informing him that he has unlocked a new talent. The new temporary talent is called Dark Walker, which allows him to see better in the dark. He grins, excited about his new ability and confident that he can now survive. He reaches the main door of the building, his hand hovering over the handle. With a determined push, he opens the door and steps out into the night. He stands outside, a triumphant smile on his face as he takes a deep breath of fresh air. He proudly declares that he has finally made it out of the building alive. His celebration is cut short as he looks down the street, his smile quickly fading. He stands in stunned silence, his confident expression replaced with one of pure shock. His eyes widen in horror as he takes in the unbelievable sight before him. The entire street is filled with the menacing shadow creatures. He stares in disbelief at the countless monsters. He clenches his fists, realizing the shadow monster exists outside the building as well. In a desperate move, he pulls a mysterious item from his bag. He holds up a wooden flute, hoping that it will be enough to save him. The story flashes back to 3 hours earlier, showing him in a dusty antique shop. The shopkeeper had sold him the flute, claiming it was a powerful, blessed artifact. Su Wu had been skeptical, joking about the bone's origin to the old man. But the shopkeeper, Old Hugh, assured him that the item was genuine and not some evil artifact. He had decided to buy it, needing a way to deal with any monsters outside the building. Back in the simulation, he holds the flute, praying that it will work against the creatures. He brings the flute to his lips, ready to test its supposed powers. As the shadow monsters close in, he takes a deep breath and begins to play. A high-pitched, eerie sound fills the air, echoing through the empty street. The young man continues to play, the the strange melody causing the shadows to recoil. He notices that the flute sound is to be causing the creatures to wail in agony. The monsters writhe and twist, their shadowy forms contorting in response to the music. One of the creatures lets out a final, horrifying shriek as it begins to disintegrate. A bright red light cracks through the darkness as the shadow monster shatters. The creature is torn apart, its dark form completely obliterated by the flute's power. Su-woo feels a powerful shockwave as the monster is destroyed, but he keeps playing. A wide smile spreads across his face as he realizes the flute actually worked. The powerful energy from the flute continues to emanate, destroying the shadow monsters. He laughs, feeling invincible now that he has a weapon to fight back. He stands confidently in the empty street, his arms outstretched in triumph. Suddenly, the flute begins to crack and crumble in his hands. Before he can react, the artifact shatters into pieces, its power completely depleted. The flute dissolves into a black, shadowy substance that quickly fades away. A massive, horrifying shadow creature looms over him, its single red eye glowing. He looks up at the monster, wondering why his score hasn't been shown yet. A powerful beam of red energy shoots down from the creature's eye, striking the ground. He is thrown backward by the force of the blast, his body crashing hard onto the pavement. In the distance, he spots a mysterious, glowing temple that he has never seen before. He grits his teeth, the intense pain from his injuries making it hard to move. He realizes that the temple was not there before, a strange new element in the simulation. He wonders if he needs to escape to the temple to clear the simulation, but it is too late. A final message appears on the screen, confirming that he has died once again. He wakes up back in his room, the dim light of his desk lamp illuminating the space. He clutches his head, frustrated and exhausted from the repeated failures. The system informs him that his temporary Dark Walker talent has disappeared. This time, he receives a C+ rating and a variety of rewards, including Origin Jade. He is furious, questioning the system's logic after dying yet again. He reviews the items he can bring out of the simulation, including his new talents. He is disappointed to see that the powerful flute is not on the list. However, a new option appears, a relic called the mysterious copper-clad bone. The system offers to unlock the relic's past for 500 Origin Jade. He is surprised that the watch has such a function, but the price is too high. He complains about the exorbitant cost, feeling like the system is trying to rob him. Deciding to ignore it for now, he focuses on his more immediate needs. He selects the Dark Walker talent from the menu, ready to make it permanent. He spends 50 Origin Jade to purchase the talent and decides to use his upgrade charm. He knows it is important to spend his resources on what matters most for his survival. With a determined look, he confirms his choice to use the upgrade charm. His eyes glow with a brilliant green light as the talent is permanently upgraded. A message confirms that he has successfully obtained the permanent Dark Walker talent. He looks around his dark room, his vision now crystal clear without any goggles. The effect is even better than the night vision goggles he used in the simulation, but he knows that having night vision alone is not enough to guarantee his survival. He looks at his calendar, knowing that the Wraith will enter his building tomorrow. He remembers the small temple from the simulation, believing it holds the key to his survival. Deciding on a desperate plan, he resolves to find the mysterious temple in the real world. He heads out into the bustling city, determined to locate the temple before it is too late. Carrying a large bag of supplies, he walks down the street in search of the temple. He finds it strange, as he does not remember there ever being a temple on this street. To his surprise, he spots a traditional-looking building that matches the one from his vision. He stands in disbelief, confirming that the mysterious temple is actually real. He cautiously pushes open the large wooden doors, a sliver of light escaping from within. He steps inside, his long shadow stretching across the tiled floor of the temple. The interior is dimly lit, with a single candle burning brightly in the center of the room. He takes a step forward, his foot making a soft sound on the clean, polished floor. As he looks at the candle's flame, he feels an unexplainable sense of calm wash over him. He kneels on the floor and opens his bag, deciding to stash some of his supplies there. The bag is filled with rope batteries and water bottles, all necessary for his survival. He decides to leave the supplies here, hoping it can serve as a safe house later. But he is still faced with the challenge of escaping his monster-infested apartment building. He sighs in frustration, knowing he is caught in a difficult and dangerous situation. He wishes for a foolproof magic weapon that could solve all of his problems. With a new idea in mind, he travels to a large, traditional Taoist temple on a mountain. He arrives at the temple late at night, relieved to see that it has not closed yet. He hopes that a proper Taoist temple will have the powerful artifact he is looking for. He walks up the long stone steps, his determination renewed by this new hope. Inside the temple grounds, he finds a large, ornate incense burner. He looks around the temple grounds, feeling a sense of peace and security. He smiles, thinking this grand temple is much more reliable than the shabby one in the city. A new idea strikes him, a potential solution to his problem. He wonders if he can avoid the wraith by waiting here instead of at his apartment. He closes his eyes and decides to test his new theory in the simulator. He enters the simulation once again, ready to see if his plan will work. The familiar welcome screen appears, signaling the start of a new simulation. The clock hands on the watch begin to spin, loading his future life. A digital image of him standing in the Taoist temple appears on the screen. The system asks if he wishes to spend 5 origin jade to start the simulation here. He eagerly agrees, wanting to see what will happen if he stays in the temple. The system begins loading his talents and the game, preparing for the simulation. A message confirms that his future life has been successfully loaded. He finds himself in the simulation, kneeling before the grand statues of the temple. He feels a sense of safety and cleanliness, protected by the divine presence of the gods. He stands up and turns around, ready to explore the temple grounds. As he walks through the temple, he feels a sense of calm and security. Suddenly, he hears a strange noise and turns to see a group of figures in blue robes. A bead of sweat drips down his face as he realizes he is not alone. He takes a step back, his heart racing. One of the figures greets him nervously, bowing his head in respect. He reaches out to touch the figure, asking if they are also hiding from the disaster. The figure suddenly looks up, its face contorting in a horrifying expression. He realizes with horror that the figure is not human as it lunges at him. He stumbles backward in shock, letting out a curse as he tries to get away. He scrambles to his feet and runs, the figures in blue chasing after him. He crashes into a table, sending offerings flying as he tries to escape. He looks back in panic, a bead of sweat dripping down his face. He quickly apologizes, realizing he has desecrated the sacred space. Suddenly, a drop of blood falls from one of the statues, landing on his face. The statue's eyes glow with a menacing red light as it begins to bleed. A horrifying, one-eyed monster materializes from the statue, its shadow looming over him. He curses his bad luck and immediately turns to run for his life. A sharp, white object flies through the air, narrowly missing him as he runs. He sprints toward the temple doors, his only thought to escape the new monster. As he runs, he glances back, his eyes filled with determination. He bursts out of the temple, only to see the forest in the distance is on fire. A single, glowing red lantern floats above the burning trees, a familiar sight. He realizes with a sinking feeling that the fire was just a lantern all along. With no other choice, he runs toward the lantern. The monsters from the temple close behind. He realizes that the temples are not safe either and decides to head for the small shrine. But before he can take another step, a sharp pain shoots through his neck. A headless figure stands before him, its hand clutching its own severed head. He looks down at his own body, horrified to see that his head has been cut clean off. The simulation once again shows the gruesome reality of his death. He now understands how the figures in blue robes had died in the temple. A final message appears on the screen, confirming that he is dead. He wakes up in his room, gasping for air as he clutches his neck. The system informs him that the simulation has ended, giving him no rating or reward. He punches his desk in frustration, the force of the blow echoing through the room. He complains about the unfairness of the world, feeling like there is no safe place left. He realizes his only option is to run from his home to the small shrine. As he prepares to leave, he spots a young Taoist master carrying a box of artifacts. The master complains about the items, calling them a pile of scrap metal. Inside the box, he sees a powerful-looking sword and a young talisman. A cunning smile spreads across his face as he realizes this is his chance. He approaches the Taoist master, a plan already forming in his mind. He tells the master that he has been feeling uneasy, as if something is in his house. The master dismisses his concerns, telling him to see a psychiatrist and believe in science. Suwu smiles. His plan to acquire the artifacts is now underway. He begs the master for help, promising to go to the hospital if he can borrow an artifact. The master reluctantly agrees and gives him a powerful artifact called the Emperor's Bell. He thanks the master profusely, promising to return the bell once he is safe. The master warns him to be careful, as the bell is a prized and powerful possession. He grins, knowing this is exactly the kind of old, powerful treasure he needs. Back in his apartment, he yawns, feeling the exhaustion of the day's events. He sits on his bed, ready to get some rest before the big day. He has packed all the necessary supplies, including food, water, medicine, and lighting. With his supplies and 2 powerful magic artifacts, he feels ready to face the Wraith. He closes his eyes, determined to escape and survive this time. He dreams of the Red Lanterns, a constant reminder of the dangers that await him. In his dream, he sees a horrifying vision of the monsters, their red eyes glowing. He struggles against the nightmare, the fear and panic feeling all too real. A menacing shadow looms over him, its dark form ready to consume him. He wakes up with a start, the nightmare still fresh in his mind. He clutches his neck, breathing heavily as he tries to calm his racing heart. He sits up in bed, relieved to find that it was all just a dream. But as he looks around his room, he notices something is wrong. Patches of mold have already started to appear on the walls, a familiar and ominous sign. Then he gets dressed and grabs his backpack. Realizing the specter has arrived early,